Hello and welcome back to another Cello 101. Let's go ahead and take a look at Andantino. This one doesn't really have anything brand new out of the bat, but it definitely has some stylistic things that need to be paid attention to and needs to kind of be looked at. So let me go ahead and play that from the beginning, and then we can go through and kind of break it down line by line, and then we can move forward from there. So looking at it first, we've got cut time, which means that it is written in 4/4, but it is played in 2/2, meaning that half notes get the beat. Still going to count it off in 4/4 just because that's the way it works in my brain. We've got some, we start in mezzo forte. We do have some dynamic changes there in measures 3 and 4, 7 and 8, and as well as 12 and 15 and 16. Other than that, yeah, should be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we can run from there. 1, 2. Let's go ahead and break that one down line by line. So measures 1 through 4, we start off at mezzo forte. We have staccato markings on basically everything until the last half of measure 2, and then we have staccato markings on everything in 3 and 4 except for the last half of 4. We also do have a crescendo decrescendo in measures 3 and 4. So let's go ahead and take that a little bit slower, so that we can get this kind of together and then try to make a nice noticeable difference between your staccato and then your regular notes. So remember, staccato is nice as opposed to it's a lot sharper, it has a lot more attack to it, and usually you're going to want to try to let it ring if you can. So let's go ahead and take that a little bit slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of a speed. So that then when we get it all together, we can speed it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and run that a little bit slower, just so we can get all of this work together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and try that one more time, and make sure that you work on differentiating your staccato and your, well, there is a legato marking on the last note of measure 4, but differentiating between your staccato and non-staccato notes, and then also pay attention to that dynamic curve in 3 and 4 where you have the crescendo leading into the decrescendo. So 1 and 2 and 3 and... Let's go ahead and move on to measures 5 through 8. So we have literally the exact same thing repeated, except for measure 4, which is dropped by a fifth. So it's literally just down a string. So let's go ahead and run measures 5 through 8, again a little bit slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and... One more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and... And now we have something slightly different. Measures 9 through 12 are going to be run at mezzo forte, or forte instead of mezzo forte, I apologize. And we also have a little bit of a retard in there, which again is kind of stretching that time. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 hand, it would kind of slow down into a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and you can delineate and you can choose how much of a retard to put in there. But just remember that it is kind of stretching the beats, and it isn't just a sudden like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's a nice gradual pull into it. So let's go ahead and play through measures 9 through 12 a couple of times. And remember that it starts nice and forte, and then we do have a bit of a retard in measure 12. So 1 and 2 and 3 and... And then we're back into a regular speed. So let's go ahead and do that one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and... And we also have that decrescendo there. So from here, let's go ahead and play 13 through the end. We are mezzo forte, and we also have an a tempo marking, which means back to original tempo. So it'll be back to the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then once we get all of this together, then we can work on tying everything together and making it a more homogeneous whole. So measures 13 to the end. Remember, oh, there was one other thing. We do have a caesura in measure 15, followed by a formata marking, which means that you can, the music comes to a complete stop. You are making absolutely no noise with your instrument, and then you can hold that formata for as long as you want, as long as stylistically acceptable. You can drag it out to a ridiculous amount, but then people can kind of forget that you're playing music and why are we sitting here? That kind of a thing. But it can be used for comedic effect in other pieces. This one, not so much. But it is definitely something that gives you, as the player, a lot more room to work with and a lot more wiggle room in terms of how you present the music. So I will go ahead and play 13 to the end, and then if you want to play with me, just so that you can kind of get a feel for what's going on there. Also remember that we, as well as the retard and the caesura, we also have a crescendo in 15 and a decrescendo in 16. So just this particular line, go ahead and listen to it once to see how it sounds, and then we can go through and we can play it together. So 1 and 2 and 3 and... So you see how it kind of got louder, and then there was a pause, and it kind of rang a little bit, and then we began. And also got quieter as we continued. That's generally the feel that they're shooting for there. There's a lot of ink on the page. There's a lot of markings and a lot of, all of this kind of stuff. But it really does kind of give you a roadmap as to what is being looked for from the original composer, and how they're trying to get you to present it. So go ahead and play with me. Measures 13 to the end. We'll run through it a couple of times, and then we'll start tying everything together, and we can move forward from there. So 1, 2, and 3, and... Okay, one more time. We'll probably do this another couple of times just to kind of get a feel and a grasp for it, because that retard as well as the caesura on top of a crescendo and decrescendo can get kind of there's a lot of different pieces that kind of need to be put together there. So measure 13 to the end. 1 and 2 and 3 and... So let's do that one more time, and then we'll tie everything together. So 1 and 2 and 3 and... Okay, so looking at the things that we need to pay attention to, we have the crescendo decrescendo in 3 and 4. We have the crescendo, decrescendo in 7 and 8. We have a dynamic jump to forte in measure 9. We have a decrescendo and a retard in measure 12. We are back to mezzo forte and a tempo in measure 13, so back to the original tempo. And then we have a crescendo with a retard, a caesura, and then a decrescendo in measure 16. So let's go ahead and keep the same slower tempo, and then we'll play through this once, and then we'll speed it up a little bit, and then we'll get to regular playing tempo. One of the nice things with a lot of these Suzuki pieces is there is a wild range of playability in terms of how fast or how slow you can take things. And one of the things that really, really helped me was actually slowing down, taking a look at what's going on, instead of just blowing through and trying to hit the notes and failing wildly in some cases. And it really did help with the different speeds of playing to get things figured out, and really kind of start picking up on stuff, especially the stylistic and performance elements of it that take it from just, Mary Had a Little Lamb to an actual soulful performance where you as an artist can put yourself into the music to help express yourself to other people through a non-vocal medium. So let's go ahead and start at the beginning. We'll take it a little bit slower, that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 tempo, and then we will play all the way through, beginning to end, keeping an eye open for those important parts that we needed to hit earlier, and then we can continue on and start trying to move the tempo up. So 1 and 2 and 3 and let's go ahead and do that a little bit faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we can bump it up one more, and then we should be about at performance tempo. So 1 and 2 and 3 and almost there. The last step is we're going to go ahead and run it about as fast as I'm looking for, which is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and da 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 da. So a little bit faster than that. Da 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 da. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay. So let's go ahead and take it at that faster tempo. And then we will see how it sounds. So 1 and 2 and 3 and nicely done. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to catch you next week.